How's it going, everybody? I'm Ben from Universal Audio, and welcome back to this morning, or I guess this evening if you're across the pond. This is yet another Luna Office Hours. We're here this morning and again this afternoon, and hopefully by now you've already heard Luna's available. Go download it. If you've already downloaded it, hit us in the chat. We'd love, we're here kind of to answer your guys' questions and show you some of the cool features and music making powers that are inside of Luna. But thankfully, I don't have to do all of this on my own. I brought a bunch of friends from all across the country and actually across the world to come help show off Luna. Hey, how's it going, guys?
Howdy.
What on, Ben?
What's up? What's up? So, Tom, you're joining us from over where it's evening time, I believe, yeah?
Yeah, 5 p.m. UK.
Nice.
Loving it. Still very sunny,
Oh,
which is good.
it's a nice day outside to stay indoors.
Beautiful, yeah. At least I can see the dust coming through in the
Right?
sun rays. Yeah.
Nice. And Matt, you're coming in from up in the Bay Area, yeah?
Yep, San Francisco Bay Area, Northern California.
Nice. And hopefully everyone that's watching will recognize Matt's voice by now, because that would mean that you've watched all of the Luna Basics videos, so you have no more questions to ask, and you're just here for the fun, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
We'll keep an eye on the chat.
Right? And then right down below me, we have Lev Perry, Director of Product Management, who helped put, you're kind of the mastermind behind this whole shebang, aren't you, Lev?
I'm part of the team, man. Yeah, we're very proud of what we've done, and we're looking forward to what's coming next as well. So yeah, we're just trying to bring all these great things to the people out there. So
Nice. Awesome.
and yeah, out here on the West Coast as well.
Awesome. Nice, man. Well, yeah, so if you guys are in the chat, we're monitoring the chat nonstop. So if you've got questions or want some help on specific things, feel free to hit us up there. We'll do our best to either answer it there or bring it up here on the stream. But also, we wanted to show, Tom's prepared a really cool remix session to kind of show you guys some of the warping and varispeed tools that are built into Luna. But real quick, before we touch on that, Matt, I saw that you posted that there was some questions about system preferences, basically inside of Mac OS, where being able to turning on microphone access didn't necessarily pop up for some users. Do you want to walk them through kind of if they're getting any errors around that, how to remedy that?
Totally, yeah. So yeah, basically the symptom here was some people were mentioning that they could hear audio monitoring through Luna, but when they actually tried to record the track, nothing actually printed the track.
Mm-hmm.
And what causes that is Luna not having access to the microphone in the system preferences. So when you install Luna, it should pop up and ask you, Luna wants access to the microphone, then you can click allow. In some cases, people didn't see that message or didn't click allow, and that's how they get into this state. So to fix that, go into the system preferences. You just click the Apple icon in the top left corner, system preferences. I'm already here, but let me back out. So you're going to go to security and privacy.
Mm-hmm.
Then on the privacy tab, click microphone. Then you want to make sure Luna is checked here. So if Luna is not checked, that's how you get into that state where you'll hear audio through Luna, but it won't actually record the track.
Nice. Well, and there's one other system preference while you've got this open that we should show people. We talked about it yesterday when we were talking about all the keyboard shortcuts, but a really important one is the best shortcut for recording inside Luna is Command Spacebar. And if you've used the Mac before, Command Spacebar also means pull up Spotlight.
Right.
So there's a really easy way to remap your Spotlight shortcut if that's if you find yourself using Spotlight all the time. And there's also, I think, a mission control shortcut that needs to be reassigned. But yeah, you want to walk them through how to change the Spotlight one?
Yeah, so the Spotlight shortcut, same place, system preferences. You can go to Spotlight here. I believe it's keyboard shortcuts in the bottom corner. Mm-hmm. And then, you can see I have it disabled here. But by default, this is enabled, which is Command Space, which is the record key command for Luna.
Yeah.
So if you uncheck that, that'll just disable that key command altogether. I believe you can also change that if you wanted to. So like I just changed it to option space. Probably a good idea to change it to something like control option command space or something like that. That's not going to get in the way with anything else.
Yeah. And then the mission control one is for control up and down, which is a great shortcut for being able to grow or shrink the different tracks inside of Luna, right?
Right. Yeah. So that's, you said control up and down for this one?
Yeah. Oh, yours looks different than mine.
Yeah, I actually don't have control up and down, which is a little funky, but I have seen that being reported on some systems.
Mhm.
But this is where you'd find it. You can get here through Spotlight, keyboard shortcuts,
Yep.
then just mission control, and you should see it there. And just like with the command spacebar, you can either just disable it altogether or reassign it to something else.
Nice. Awesome. Were there any other kind of support focused questions that you saw coming in?
Nothing that I have queued up right now, but I'm gonna be keeping an eye on the chat, so I will let you know.
Awesome. Great. Well, Tom, why don't you go ahead and share your screen, and let's dive in and show these people how to make some music.
Let's do it. So I thought we'd start with, let me just bring up Luna here on the share. I thought we'd start with actually the track that I mixed, sort of like turbo mixed yesterday for 1 hour with the undertones thing that we recorded a couple of years ago. So like, we've got obviously kind of drums, bass, keyboards, there's real piano there, and it's all recorded in electric guitars, one of them using aux and lead vocal and stuff. And I thought what we could start with is actually look at some of the ability to just change your session tempo. Like you've recorded in a song and you wish it was actually 2 or 3 BPM faster. Like, 11 the guys have made this really, really, really quick way of just adjusting tempo, because all of our warps that we can see here on, say, the clips view, if we change that to warps view, everything's auto detected. And the one thing I do want to say about that is, having used so many different algorithms over the years, and having to go in and actually move 1 or 2 that are just misidentifying a transient. The fact that Luna's doing this, I'm not sure how you've done it, Lev. Maybe you can actually explain a bit about, at least why it's so accurate. But it seems to me the most accurate I've ever used, even on things like distorted electric guitar, where there's not much transient information. It seems to identify where the start of a chord, or at least a pick attack, might be.
Yeah, we worked long and hard on a very good transient detection algorithm. We actually used machine learning to analyze hundreds of thousands of individual audio files and mixes, and so going beyond just what we would call the easy stuff, like drums with very clear transients or other things like that. We went really deep on analyzing the audio and figuring out where, exactly like what you said, those types of things actually start. There's also a strong preference towards the zero crossing to make sure that it's a very clean kind of warp if you should start to make it. So just like the same kind of principles that we would all take traditionally from audio editing were sort of applied here. It also doesn't hurt that the algorithmic genius who designed the algorithm for this is also a drummer, so he's extremely focused on timing, and just again, the team did an amazing job here.
They really did. I mean, it sounds so good. And one of the things that blew me away the most, just very quickly making changes. So we've got here below the clips and warps and automation mode in the track header here, we've got the mode for tempo or time. So maybe, Lev, you could give us a bit of an overview of, say, what you would use time for versus what we would use tempo for. And then I'll do a demo of what we can actually do with some of the algorithms there.
Yeah, it's a great point. Time is sort of the secondary mode. Like when you make a new track and you record into Luna, you're in this tempo mode, and what it means is kind of what it says is that basically anything you put into this is going to follow the tempo ruler, the tempo of the session, right? So when you think about that, it's like very straightforward. Now, time is sort of what if I'm going the other way? If I'm going to start just importing things where Luna has no idea about the tempo of the file, right? So if you're going to import some stems, you are just going to start to play, and you don't have like the click track going, you just want to record free time. You'd want to put the track in time so that you could still mess with the session tempo or start to use some of the tools that let you build a tempo map. We've got this identify bar 1 and identify bars set of menu items there. And again, you kind of figure out how you want to attack it. So simply put, if you're working to the grid, you're working to the click, tempo mode is great. If you want your files to sort of not be affected by tempo either forever or in the beginning when you're starting to build your tempo map, that's why you'd use time.
Yeah, great. So in the session, it was recorded at 96 BPM. So I've got that in here. Obviously, everything's in tempo mode and everything's auto detected. It's probably cool just to go down here and select, say, we've got the 5 different algorithms within Luna. So polyphonic, monophonic, varispeed. The varispeed one is what I'm actually going to end up using to do a remix for creative purposes, because I think it's cool to sort of show almost like a tape machine type workflow where you're able to repitch things. But then we've got the razor blade for sort of drum editing and transient editing, and then our own version of the polyphonic down here in Luna. But I think just what I'll do quickly is stick the bass track on monophonic, and also the lead vocal tracks. So I've got this one all the way down to here. In fact, that one's actually a chord, so I will leave the last vocal track. But if we do this, then, obviously I'll play the track very quickly at 96 BPM, and then I'll change the tempo on the fly just to hear how good this sounds.
She was a Jezebel, this bursting queen, living a life like a bad sweet dream, telling me lies when the truth was clear, think he knew what I wanted to hear, spinning around like a wheel on fire, walking the tightrope on
That's exactly how we recorded it. But what I love about this is how far you can actually go. We could obviously say, I wish we'd just made this at 98 BPM.
Hey Tom,
and
do
just
you
get it a little quicker.
by chance do you have your speakers on? So I'm hearing like a weird comb filter thing coming through on the
Oh, are you?
stream. Yeah.
Let's have a quick look. I don't have speakers on, no. Just headphones and...
Try it. Just can you still up a kick track just so we can isolate it real quick?
Mm-hmm. Let me just check some of the...
The joys of live streaming.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it's coming in on my side fine, but it sounds like I'm hearing
cool.
it twice.
If I pull this... Just still getting it once or twice?
Sounds twice though. Do you want to check your loop back real quick? Still sounds a little funkier than a kick drum.
Okay. We had clean audio earlier, did we, or not?
Yeah.
Is this any better? That should kill your...
Yep, no, mine's gone. That's super
Tell you what
weird.
we could do. Yeah, I'll tell you what we could do is I'll just reboot some of those things quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just stop playback. And... Shall I just reboot Luna for a second? We can go back to chatting for a minute.
Yeah, let's try that.
See if I can bring it back.
Yeah.
Sorry, people.
All good. Well, that's actually a good point. We've had a few good questions kind of pop up in the chat. I know some people are asking about the Jakir King Luna session that we showed off at NAMM. And the plan is still to get that session out. Since we moved up the release date of Luna, we kind of got those two out of sync now. I think I don't have the exact date or time for the release on that yet, but it is coming in within like the next month or so. And we'll do a big live stream event with Jakir. We'll pull up the session, walk through it, kind of show you guys how we finish it off. And then, most importantly, give you guys access to that entire session file so you can download it, open up inside of Luna, and demo, kind of see how he did things, but also demo the Neve summing and the Studer tape, and any other UAD effects that he used in there. What's really cool is that we're actually going to make special versions of that session. So Jakir's going to mix it how he wants to mix it. With he's got a fairly beefy UAD and Apollo rig. But we'll also make a kind of committed version of it with some stems and still some processing available inside the session, so that will fit on people on say like a twin quad or a twin duo, smaller rigs setups. That way you can still experience and hear the sound quality and see some of the workflow things that he was pulling off in there.
That's cool.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, so Tom, it wasn't you. It was me, baby. I'm double monitoring.
Oh, no worries.
Oh,
well,
it was me.
I'm coming back.
I didn't want to say anything, but I kind of figured.
Oh, guys, you gotta tell me these things.
It's all good. We got some questions in.
You're in mission control, man. You've got all the sources coming in. We're flying blind here.
So it sounded fine for you, Lev, then?
Well, just when I went and looked at the delayed live stream and I muted on Zoom here, I heard it was sounding okay, but I was like, I'm listening on laptop speakers, so 50-50.
All right, well, I made it all week until now without this, so
yeah.
was bound to happen once.
All good.
I'm just surprised it didn't happen Friday after. Friday morning versus Friday afternoon. It's just
I'm
more.
looking at I'm actually looking at the viewership here, and it just went like this. So all right, let's hope we get some people back here.
Nuh-uh, it went up. It's going through the roof right now, Lev.
My story was better. I'm actually not looking at anything. So
yeah, I'm seeing the actual thing here, and it's going through.
That's
the people are just here for the drama now. They're wondering, will it come back?
Will this train wreck get any worse? Every second.
Everyone. Well, now it seems like a good time while Tom's bringing his session back to life after I unceremoniously killed it. Killed all the flow and momentum. But this is our first live stream for the day. We have a second one this afternoon at 2 p.m. PST, where we'll be doing just tons of Q&A. We'll actually kind of make it a little bit more of like a happy hour format. All the office hour crew will be here, and we'll kind of take turns sharing some of our favorite tips that we've learned this week inside of Luna, and show off some of the cool workflow things that either we knew coming in, but if I'm just going to steal all the ones I've learned from you guys this week and reshare those. So it'll be a fun, nice little hangout. We'll dress down even more. I don't know. We'll try to make it a little bit more casual than normal. But yeah, we'll have a lot of fun this afternoon answering questions, showing you guys some of the cool tips. But then in between now and then, at 11:30 PST, Fab is going to be going live over on Pure Mix, and he'll be doing a full mixing session from scratch, all inside the Luna. So I definitely highly recommend that you guys go check that one out. It'll be really cool to see how Fab, imports tracks and then just kind of starts working from raw stems and getting into a finished mix. I think within like an hour or two. Like I've seen him do it before. I'm sure we'll see him do it again. He's such a beast at putting together mixes really, really fast.
He's pretty good at his job of being an audio engineer.
Surprise, right?
Yeah. It's very interesting. Yeah, very fascinating.
Nice.
And we've lost Tom. So does anybody have a good accent that they can throw at this?
I don't want those lawsuits. Hey, he's back fast.
There he is.
You there, Tom?
Well, while Tom's setting up, I see a couple questions in the chat here about using audio units plugins on ARM-enabled tracks, and a little bit of confusion why the third-party audio units plugins are getting disabled when they record on the track.
Yeah, it's a great question. ARM stands for accelerated real-time monitoring, and the accelerated part, I think, is the key. When we say acceleration, we mean it's DSP acceleration. It runs on the Apollo in low latency. And native audio units plugins don't run on the DSP of Apollo, kind of by definition. So that's the simple reason why there's just no way for us to transfer over an audio unit plugin to running on the Shark DSP. But the upside of ARM is, of course, that you get this incredibly low latency performance all the time. You can have a huge session that normally, if you tried to use, say, a native buffer in a third-party DAW, you might not be able to do that, because you might have too many real-time processes going on. So really the benefit of ARM is that you get this deterministic low latency performance all the time, and you can do it with UAD plugins. So that not only includes the stuff that we make, but we've got a lot of UAD direct developer plugins. And so those would also work as long as they're, UAD plugins, they will work in this mode. So you'd have to think a little bit about, okay, I want to drop into record. How do I do that? What plugins do I have? There are other ways to monitor through AU plugins by turning ARM off. But it won't be as low latency. So that's kind of the balancing act that you should think about. But, definitely I've adjusted my workflow personally to sort of thinking about like, okay, well, I'm tracking vocals. I'm going to really default to UA plugins. Even the free ones that come with the system are great for tracking things like LA2As, 1176s, Pultecs. They're going to give you great EQ, great compression, the types of things that are really going to help the vibe when you're trying to track and overdub.
Awesome. Thanks, Lev.
Mm-hmm.
Also seeing a question here about how to automate a plugin on and off in Luna, which I think that's a quick demo I can show you real quick.
Go for it, yeah.
So just got a little loop that I built here, and one of the tracks has a Korg SDD 3000 delay on it, so I'll just show you how to automate that guy. So the way you get into the automation mode would be, or sorry, the way you get into the automation lane for that particular parameter would be click on the view and then find the parameter you want to automate. In this case, I'm going to go down to the Korg STD 3000. I'm going to find power just down here. You could actually put this into touch mode and use the plugin GUI, actually hit the power button in the plugin GUI to automate it that way, or you could just draw in a little on off here. In this case, I'm going to go down. Yeah, simple and easy. That's how you automate the power on and off. And then that's the same way you would automate any other parameter in the plugin as well. So whoever had that question in the chat, hopefully that answers it for you.
Well, and you can also do it similar to like how, since you put it into touch mode like this, you could also pull up the plugin window itself, and then all UA plugins, they have so there's the global bypass up top, but the one that we're actually automating here is that power button, so you can be you can be rolling and kind of punch in and out.
And one good tip for people using UA plugins, that there's always a power switch in the GUI, and the distinction between that and anything that's at like the header of any DAW is that you're going to get a clean glitchless bypass when you use the power button in the GUI. So if you're looking for just that smooth transition when you're automating it, highly recommend what Matt is doing here by using the power function there. I
forget to do that in my demos all the time. For the 5-minute tips, I'll go and hit the main bypass button on them, and then I'm like, oh crap, there's literally a power switch here that gives it to me in a much better way.
Good save on the S-bomb, but definitely there's a whole cascade of things that can happen if you're going to use sort of the DAW header version, which not only might it be sort of a glitch, but it also reports different values to the delay compensation engine of your system. So it can have a lot of like negative unintended consequences. And so it's something to think about. Again, this is really the best practice here if you're just trying to keep, especially with a delay, things really clean and in time, because especially with the delay, you're going to have all sorts of timing issues if you use the main power switch. You want to use the GUI power switch.
Yeah. Well, and while we're talking here about automation, I know this is one of the ones that I've seen lots of questions from day in and day out about how to do automation inside of Luna. And kind of the easiest, most fun way is to throw it in touch and then move the knobs inside the GUIs or move your faders, and all of those moves get recorded. But when it comes to drawing automation, Matt, do you mind kind of walking people through, not necessarily on the power button, but on a more continuous control, what all the different automation controls are?
Yeah, sure. So let me switch to something continuous here, which would be like input level. Why is my keyboard not working?
It's a cursed morning.
All kinds of technical problems this morning.
Our computers know it's Friday, so they're like, you know what, you guys, you've worked too hard this week.
I can take the screen if you need.
Perfect. Let me switch off for you here.
No worries. All right.
That's why we have redundancy built into these Zooms.
That's right. And of course, with absolutely nothing prepared, this is fun. But yeah, so, with automation, there's so many ways to get into it. Then you were talking about how do I go through and just use some basic automation. First of all, I'm using the key shortcuts of automation views, which is kind of fun. So, we're sort of coming over here to the view menu, clicking on this, and you get the full list. But if you want to move really fast, like I might, and just go to the volume automation, I'm just holding down Control Command for one track, adding the Option key for all tracks. But yeah, so at this point, there's a couple ways you could approach going after this automation line with no breakpoints or any automation written. Easy enough to just sort of go in and start trimming these things up and down. You go right to the line, you see the cursor changes to this up down. And so this is a really quick way if you've gone and made some edits, like I'm going to cut this guy into pieces. And now I'm just sort of going through and automating the volume on these clips. And this is probably the most common thing that we see. People just saying like, oh, I've got, this part of the chorus and I just want that to be a little louder than the verse. All that's totally doable. But yeah, if you want to do something a little bit more gradual and modulate this, you can hold down the Control key and you'll see the cursor changes to this pencil tool. And this will allow you to go through and sort of draw in something a little bit more organically. And this is also where, if you're using something like Sidecar or any of these iPad apps where you've got iPad Apple Pencil kind of support, where it can be really fun to draw in automation, because that does work as well. But I'm just using the mouse, obviously, and you're seeing these breakpoints get drawn in. Now, another tip about the resolution here, if we were to zoom way into the grid, you would notice that these are actually
On 16th notes.
On 16th notes, and that's because up in the bar beat ruler, we've got this grid drop down. So the highest resolution that we could do here is up to 64th notes, which is, as we zoom out, you can see very high resolution and very granular in terms of what you can do there.
And we're doing smoothing between all those points, it looks like.
That's right. That's absolutely right. So there's a lot of things going on under the hood in terms of making it sound smooth and natural and not just like choppy and sort of, bit reduced. Some of the other things that are really powerful about automation, like let's say that I really like this curve and I don't like this one. It's actually, when you're in the automation view, very easy to duplicate or copy and paste automation. And I'm just doing that by, in this case, I just double clicked on this footer, as we call it, and it just selects the entire clip. And if I start to delete that, it will just duplicate the automation. So that's a nice tip just for giving you that ability to very easily say, okay, I want to just take that kind of move. Of course, this is kind of a gnarly move you probably never would see in nature, but I think, it kind of gets the point across that it's really easy to, just like you would copy clips, to copy the automation that you do. And of course, if you don't like it, you can select it and delete it, get back to a good starting place.
Can you do how does automation and versions work together? Like, can you do a version in automation and then create a new version of that and then change the automation around?
I don't believe that you do that. Let me double check. I can't remember. Oh no, sorry. The automation it depends on which automation, but so in this particular case, I believe it's for the track. So let's double check that. So let's make a new version. I'm getting there by opening up the versions panel, which is right above the top track, its mute button. And yeah, if I duplicate this and then I change this, we're on version 2 now. You can see it's actually not changing.
Yeah, so it's just the audio clip information, the MIDI clip information, but automation stays with the track.
That is right. So now you're seeing that very clearly as I change one of the versions to be something else. So yeah, good question, but definitely it's a single playlist. Now the stuff that we kind of present as quote unquote automation, or in this case, it's the warp view, that does stay with the clip. So if I were to do something wild, like do this, that's per clip. So you're seeing that kind of play out. But for the mixer automation, the panning, the plugins, it's a single playlist. So you're in that sort of headspace if you're doing that.
And then one last thing for the automation. Sorry, I think I was tabbed out for a second there at the very beginning. But
good.
You showed how you can lift the automation bar up and down to quickly move like a whole region worth of automation data or selected automation. But say you're like me and you just like to kind of triangulate your rides. So like I put a point here, and a point in the middle, and then pull that up. How do you do that in Luna?
Yeah, so there's a couple of interesting things here. So first of all, we do something I think that's the accurate way to sort of trim things up and down. Like if you're just going to make a selection and you've got this line up here, you've got this line down there. Some other systems would do this sort of rubber banding thing, which is really gnarly when you think about trying to clean up the automation. We actually add breakpoints on a selection so that we just scale it, right? So this is a very nice way to do volume automation. Of course, you can rubber band it by clicking on a given breakpoint and just doing that kind of maybe more traditional move, that sort of simple ramp. The other way is just to simply double click on any point in time, and then that causes us just to have these two equal points that we can then easily scale up and down. So there's a couple of ways to do this, but yeah, for my money, the coolest thing that we've done, like let's say that I want to utilize the tab to transient functions, like I'm using just the tab key here to go to these different transients on this drum beat. I can hold down shift tab and sort of select forward. This has now made me a perfectly transient appropriate selection, and now I can just turn that bit up and down. So there's a bunch of really cool ways to kind of get in there. And like I said, anytime that I was deciding that I was going to say, want to make this selection and just scale this down a little bit, it creates the breakpoints for me. It's a very clean way to do this without a lot of ramping. Because what you end up seeing, the way this manifests in the mixer, and we can see it on this fader here, is this fader is going to jump all over the place. And you generally know in other systems that you've made a mistake with this type of a system because you just see this very slow, gradual increase of the fader over time. You're like, why is my fader going up? And it's because, you're making these edits on the breakpoints, and some of the editing on the breakpoints isn't the most intuitive. We think we've got a very intuitive system here that's very much what you see is what you get, but we've also done some really special things to sort of kind of give you what we think would be the most logical way to scale this, as opposed to, oh yeah, like let's ramp everything and let's do
Exactly.
some weird rubber banding that just doesn't make a lot of sense. And of course, if you want a rubber band, that's a very conscious action where you just click on the breakpoint and then you can start to do stuff like that.
Nice. And so if you wanted to delete just one single breakpoint, what's the best way to do that?
So you can just swipe over it is the easiest way, like use the selection.
Mm-hmm.
So and then just hit delete.
And then what about like one of these ones that's on like a shelf like that? If I wanted to get rid of the top one and have a long curve to it, is there a way to delete just that top point? Or do
Yeah, the best way to do
it?
Exactly. The best way to be to move it and select it because they kind of occupy the same. I mean, there's at the sample level, they're off by a little bit, but you'd never really hear or see that. But yeah, that's the best way to do it is just kind of move it into the place that you want. Definitely. Yeah. So that's a good point because a lot of people would want to maybe not so much delete, but just if they wanted a little bit smoother ramp, it would be easy enough to just sort of move this out there in time. And you're also seeing what I'm doing here. As I move this, it is because snap is turned on, it's quantizing to the grid lines. If you want to defeat that for a more granular move, just hold down the command key and now you can do it in samples. So another just little tip, if you're trying to manipulate these things and get that perfect automation move, the grid might be a little too constricting. So some other things to think about with editing automation.
And what's great too is like so many of the paradigms you just explained there kind of apply to multiple things. Like,
Totally.
Being in, you're able to leave your timeline and all your editing in a snap mode, but then quickly defeat it, whether you're doing automation or you're trimming a clip or you're moving a clip, anything that is snappable. If you just hit command or hold command while you're doing it, automatically now you're able to release yourself from the snap and make any move that you like.
Yeah, just to show it like at the clip level, let's do some larger grid, like let's do a whole bar. And as I move this, you're going to see like the clip goes over. I've got some clips underlying. Let's delete some of these guys. Let's clean this up a little bit. So if I move this guy, you're seeing these big chunky moves. But if I just want to do something a little creative and just have it be slipped a little bit, then yeah, holding down the command key gives me that. And one thing that's actually really nice is, let's say that you're somebody who doesn't want to work in this snap mode. Snap mode is turned on and off right up here in the bar beat ruler, so I can turn that off. And now that's kind of the way that it works normally. But in this mode, if you hold down the command key, it turns the grid back on. So you actually are able to work in either mode depending on how you want to go about it. So
that's really cool.
If you're doing a lot of like deeper audio editing, you might want to live in the snap mode turned off, but you still have access to the grid underneath. The last thing I'll say about automation, you're seeing it as I've been doing it here. Automation follows the clip. So I did all these crazy moves. We've got some ramps, we've got some stair steps. And as I move it around, you're going to see the automation is just sticking with it. So you're never going to lose anything that you did automation wise in context with the clip. It will just follow it along.
Is that an option that you can turn off?
Not currently, no. We sort of chose what we thought was the most intuitive for the first version. Certainly there are examples in other DAWs where you can kind of turn that on and off, but this, there was a time when we were developing Luna where we didn't have this feature and life was very bad because you would be doing remixes, you'd be relaying out clips and you'd be like, I got to move my automation. It didn't really work. So,
yeah, because you end up having to do the same thing twice. You move the clip and then you have to go, oh crap, yeah, remember, bring over all the automation along with it. So
exactly. So this is the default for now. If people are really interested in having a automation doesn't follow edit mode, definitely check out the feedback button in the top right of Luna. You can give us that kind of feedback. Any feature requests, any issues you're having, we'd love to hear about it. We've gotten thousands and thousands of bits of feedback just in the last week. It's been really cool.
That's awesome.
And there's also and also that's been informing what we've been doing here on the live stream, where some people are asking like, oh, I wish it had this, and it's like, oh, well, it actually does. And so we've been showing some of these features that maybe aren't the most obvious in terms of where they are, but Luna has quite a bit of what people are already giving us feedback about, which is great.
Nice. Hey Tom, I see you're back.
I'm back. Sorry, I had a little restart thing going down.
That's all good, man. That is. Let me make sure I fix.
At least it's proving everything's live, and I'm sure Lev smoothly slid in there.
Absolutely.
Well, what happened was Matt tried to get going, and then he had some problems with his keyboard. Then I had to come in. So I'm like,
oh really? Oh
yeah. There's an understudy.
Good Friday.
There's an understudy, and then there's like the stage manager who gets in there, and that's what I was doing. So.
Oh man, the prompters come out from the wings to get going. Lead actor.
Right. You're the star, man. Go for it.
Yeah, dude. And now everyone has seen some of the guts behind our mechanisms here. But yeah, this is 100% real, 100% live, as you guys are seeing. But we are we're doing putting a lot of extra effort and configurations so that instead of you guys having to experience crappy quality audio, we're getting like 320 kilobit per second stereo audio out of Luna and out to live stream all the way from the other side of the world. Technology is amazing.
It is amazing, yeah. It's just it's quite an elaborate system, isn't it, Ben?
It is, yeah. All right, Tom,
I'll go back to sharing Luna.
So we totally killed a bunch of your time. So I would love to.
Don't worry,
let's
I can make it work.
Yeah, I was like
super quick.
Exactly. Let's show the people how quick it is, and we won't bug you as much as we possibly can.
Oh, no worries. Just go ahead and ask away. I mean, really, for me, it was just how far you can actually change the tempo or something. So this is the original 96 BPM. It's pretty. I mean, it should be really blatant about it. Let's go 121.
The wheel on fire, walking a tightrope on love's highway. Fatal attraction is where I'm at. There's no.
You getting that? Just check in, Ben. We got audio.
Yes. Now I do.
Okay.
No.
You're all good.
Yes.
Cool. Okay. Do you want me to do that bit again?
No, keep going.
All right, cool.
Go faster.
Well, so you can
how much faster can you go? That's the real question. The real challenge here is, can we get this up into like drum and bass territory?
Bass territory.
Spinning around like a wheel on fire, walking a tightrope on love's highway. Fatal attraction is where I'm at. There's no escape from me.
What I love about this is that obviously it's not changing the key of the song. We're just changing the speed of it, and it's so quick. If you've just recorded something and you wish it was 5 or 10 BPM quicker, you can pick, the appropriate algorithm, and it's not going to be a painful process, where that used to be really quite an elaborate process for a lot of workstations. It's just, make it quicker in tempo mode, obviously tracks and tempo. What I also love is if we go slower, so to this one here, 76.2, there's a reason for it being 76.2, which I'll get to in a minute, but
Spinning around like a wheel on fire, walking a tightrope on love's highway. Fatal
that's the
attraction.
stream. So I think we're saying, Lev, really, we probably wouldn't actually take something you've recorded and go that far with it, another 20 BPM slower. That's a lot of space to fill. But the reason I wanted to do this is because if we go back to 96 and I put everything in the varispeed algorithm, so just hold down option here and put it into varispeed. 96 the original tempo. When I go to 121, it's actually going to go 4 semitones higher. So I've kind of roughly worked them out with there's a little formula, but I won't actually do any maths on one.
Show your work.
Talked about this.
Show your work, Tom. I want to see the math. Prove it.
Spinning around like a wheel on fire.
Prove it. So I thought I'd prove it with guitar, actually, just because. So the key of the song is E flat minor. Bear with me. I will just have to hold the guitar the whole operating a DAW and holding a guitar at the same time is ergonomically challenged. But you should hear me here. So this is the beauty of having ARM, is obviously that I can have a mix up, which we did yesterday, and obviously then punch in a guitar part over the top and hear that without any noticeable latency. And I'm going through what have we got here? A TS overdrive into a Fuchs guitar amplifier, and then going to a pure plate reverb on that side there. So I'll just...
Well, and I noticed too on your main mix, you've got some AU plugins. You got a mixture of UAD, AU, and everything inside of Luna is compensating so that way you're still getting a low latency experience as the player, and everything will line up perfectly inside the timeline as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great. And you just don't feel anything. So just to prove the point, this is 96. So I should be able to just quickly do an E flat minor thing just to prove this is the key, right?
Spinning around like a wheel on fire, walking a tightrope on love's highway. Fatal attraction is where I'm at. There's no escape from me. I just wanna be close.
So that way.
Spinning around like a wheel on fire, walking a tightrope on love's highway. Fatal attraction is.
I get the point across. Forgive me for that one. We're like rapidly picking it back up. So let's go to 121. We'll go quick. And what we'll do is actually put the whole thing up 4 semitones.
Spinning around like a wheel on fire, walking a tightrope on love's highway. Fatal attraction is where I'm at. There's no escape from me. I just wanna be close to you.
E minor, right?
Yeah, man.
But the one that I love is if we go 76.2, we'll go down 4 semitones, we'll go to B minor. And this now makes the singer, who's female Meg, sound quite a lot like a male voice because of the formant changes that happen, which is one of the great ways you do this on Tape Machine. You can just do it in Luna.
Spinning around like a wheel on fire, walking a tightrope on love's highway. Fatal attraction is where I'm at. There's no escape from me.
proving the point to a degree,
That's
right?
incredible. Dude, it's oh man, that sounds so good. Like it sounds good, which is incredible. And yeah, you're pointing out, man, varispeed is such a cool tool that often gets overlooked. But yeah, being able to like travel pitch and tempo together like this, just like a real tape machine would, sounds incredible.
Yeah, and it sounds great. And for resampling, this is what I wanted to show really. But also, you know, I could have overdubbed guitars or vocals, particularly in these different keys, and then sped it back up again and changed the pitch, and then you'd get a different texture in the vocal.
So
it's a really cool
I see
way
what
to
you're
record and
saying.
do stuff.
So wait, just for people at home who didn't follow that, what you could do is now that you've pitched everything down in varispeed mode, you could record a guitar track solo, and then put that in varispeed, bring everything back up to the original tempo, and now you've got the track back to where it is, but your guitar has this cool four-man-T pitch shift quality to it.
Exactly, yeah. So, and also, if you can't hit a note in a song, for example, you could just work out the BPM drop to put it a semitone lower and hit that note, and then just put it back again when you've done it.
Yep.
You know, there's a lot of workflows for varispeed, but the thing that I wanted to show from a remix point of view is actually just to take some samples out from the session. So, like, if I very quickly I just defined this as a range of useful stuff which I thought I might use. So I sort of just loop up that section effectively here for music, and I just mute all the drums, so you can see using that nice drag mute process, it's dead easy to get down there. I think I ended up muting the bass and then the lead guitar solos, which were just lurking at the very end of that vocal phrase, and just I took this, so you can hear there's like a shaker, and then the vocal is heavily pitched down.
She was a Jezebel, this bursting queen, living a life like a bad sweet dream, telling me lies.
Pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you get to the main phrase. It's a harmony.
Hey, and do all the things you want me to.
So effectively, I made that like mute and then hit bounce, and would just bounce that out as a section of something to sample down to a stereo file, like we've just sampled off a vinyl record or something, and obviously repitched it and re-timed it just really quickly. And then the other one was I'd take a section of drums. So I thought, in fact, yeah, the drum sample section was really small. It was just this bit here. So you could just option click and mute everything for a sec, and then come back and I'll unmute the drums. I didn't take the drum reverb because I thought it sounded better without this. Oh, let's just bring up the drum parallels again. There we go. The fact that those drums are completely detuned and changed pitch, right? It's so cool.
Can you send me that loop afterwards?
Yeah. So, I mean, I bounced them out, but to save time on the bounce, I think I'll just close the session and go to the remix session, and I'll bring it back in here. So, I'll show you what I did.
Just like a good cooking show right here.
Yeah, like I said, Blue Peter, here's one I made earlier. It ends up ridiculously gnarly, and it's completely not that musical, but I think it shows the sound design capability of using varispeed and committing or just printing sections. So if you're recording, you know, like a legit band, but you also want to send some stuff off to remix, you can do some very cool things like change the key, change the time, send it off, you know, very quickly, and yeah, people can go wild.
And so now you brought this back up to 91. So I assume what you did is you kind of brought everything in here at that lower BPM, and then put it into tempo mode, and then brought it up, or how'd you go about?
Absolutely. So actually, when I created this session, it was 76.2. So I've got the detune bit, and to get the point across, I'm going to make a couple of tracks here. Let's do 2 audio tracks stereo, just so you can see where I started. And then I just went to the Finder where I keep all of my sessions in here, for example, and I'd put them. This isn't the default location, by the way. It's just that I've been using this during the alpha and beta testing as my folder, so I'm sticking with it. But drum sample, music sample were right there. So just so you can hear this, Ben, obviously importing them at 76.2, it should sound like it did when we just exported it. A much deeper tuning on the drums, and then the very cool pitch down sample for vocals here.
Spinning around like a wheel on fire, walking the tightrope on love's highway.
It's cool.
It's super.
So then I was like, well, I actually want this at 91 BPM now. So I'm doing a sort of like bi-directional stretch process just for fun. So because everything's in tempo mode again, I'll reset it to 91. And then it's automatically detecting the transients from the new file and
She was a Jezebel, this
keeping the pitch that I had, but obviously now I've sped it back up into more of like a hip hoppy sort of territory.
Nice.
And then all I actually did was using the tab to transient that Lev was just showing for getting through automation. Just go through here and use the Command E key to make a separation. I think you can also press B as well. There you go. So you can see the two different ways of being able to do that.
Tab B, tab
And so
B,
I just,
tab B.
yeah, exactly. So I very quickly chopped out some kick drums, you know, set them to say a length that made sense, put a fade on it very quickly, you know, like that. Did the same with the snare, and then I've actually copied them down to these red tracks you can see below me. So that's where I started, by just taking some kicks and snares out of that loop. But then I wanted the tom-tom fill at the end here. Sorry, this tom-tom fill at the end. That. So I've effectively cut this little section out here.
Nice.
And put that down. But to keep it sort of more on grid, I then ended up using Audio Warp. We get to that file here to show you warp here. I've actually gone in and actually warped the kick drum to be bang on the start of the grid because it was kind of a loose fill that was rushing the groove a bit. So I've taken sort of elements of the original recording and I've just retimed it and chopped it all up to make a new drum part effectively.
Cool.
So what we'll do is I'll just start with those. So this was the shaker loop at the start of this on this vocal sample. So I took that and made this one. So that's here. That's just got a bit of tape on it. And the chopped up kicks and snares here. Kind of crazy with that weird grimy slapback on it because there's a delay there too. So what's going on is these chopped out re-pitched drums that have taken out from the varispeed are now just all going to this bus here, which has a distressor on it. So that's just getting absolutely smashed.
Good choice.
Big beat drums. I was kind of going after that 90s, like I suppose Fatboy Slimmy type era big beat drums. And then something I often do when drums like that feel a bit chopped, you know, and they feel a bit staccato, but there's trying to get a groove. I use the Cooper Time Cue plugin quite a lot, which is more like the Garden hosepipe delay that goes back to our legacy like a long time ago.
Yeah.
Just with a bit of timing in there synced up. Just put it on a bit. And it makes a sort of choppy, almost like a DJ flipping a crossfader type of thing.
Totally, and it kind of helps fill in the beat just a little bit. So yeah, you don't notice the end of the samples quite as obviously.
Exactly. Yeah. So once I kind of got those drums going, I thought, you know what, it'd be pretty cool. I'm just going to actually delete these two original source tracks now. Yeah, those two can go. To have a little go with the vocal sample. So I ended up just taking it and chopping it up so it's got a bit of a repeat in there.
and do all the things you want me to.
Just to get that kind of remixed feel to it, you know, just that one line. So that's going through some Cambridge EQ to give it some kind of lo-fi filtering, and it's pretty heavily compressed again just to get it more like a sample. I know we had some guys in the chat yesterday asking about the Korg delay, so I think it's probably cool to just show this one, because it's another thing that I use on vocals or vocal samples a lot for that sort of bouncy effect.
And do all the things you want me to.
The way it goes, wow, 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 it's got enough pitch variation in this kind of like modulation section where the waveform is sort of I think it's a triangle wave. It's just kind of pitching the delay, so they kind of go swimmy up and down, right?
Yeah, you just got a little extra shimmer on top of them.
Yeah, and then sort of filter some top out, so it's a bit lo-fi.
And do all the things you want me to.
I've also put that into a Galaxy tape echo, and then the Korg itself feeds into another bus that's lurking over here. So we've got the Korg goes to this Galaxy tape echo.
And do all the things you want me to.
It's just a bit of extra wetness in the middle, and then the vocal samples going off to a space bus, which I think I created over here, which was this EMT 250. So yeah, that's kind of like just very quickly taking out what was a very nicely recorded kind of played live pop song and turned it into a big beat kind of drum pattern with a vocal chop. So just to go, with these examples to here.
and do all the things you want me to.
That drum fill kind of just, it lands in time, but it absolutely distorts. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, it's nuts. So then I thought, you know, I kind of wanted to show people, if people have got analog, you know, synths and outboard gear, what it's like to have the ability to very quickly just sample in some stuff that you've got outside. So I've got this analog drum machine behind me, which actually you can't see because I'm on screen share, but it's a Vermona machine. Nice. So I'm just going to go, you see this DRM track over on the side here.
Yep.
I'm going to stick this into ARM and input monitor, and I will very quickly disable the stuff here. So you should be able to hear this, no problem. I hope.
We also we don't have your camera at the moment. We get
Should I
spinning
come
camera.
off? Oh yeah, okay. To get that, I'll have to go and actually move the. Shall I move it? Try and get the phone back on.
No, because we're coming up on the hour here, so I'd say let's get the sounds in, and everyone just imagine a drum machine behind Tom. Picture Tom on the screen right now, where that black box is. Insert
Pressing some stuff.
Exactly. Project your version of Tom into that box, and then just imagine him hitting a drum machine.
So interestingly, having a little bit of a signal thing going on. That took me out, you know, that crash.
Dude, I totally messed you up. I take full responsibility for this one being the least smooth office hour we've had yet.
we'll try and keep it smooth. Yeah, for some reason I've lost the input for the drum machine there. But what I can do is actually just show you what I've done. So it comes into the line input on the Apollo, right? I then added a preamp because I wanted to give it some beans, just to give it some extra fatness, and then the fatso just to give it some compression. So the beauty of those two running in you know, low latency is that you can just quickly jam with your drum machine or play with the sound. So this particular machine's got knobs on it, and I can actually adjust all the different controls. So I could get a really cool sound. But the one thing I did was I very quickly put the BX tuner up in here as well, which is a plugin we have that comes with some of the guitar amp bundles, and actually tuned the kick drum to be a note B roughly, so that the sub hit kick is effectively going to be close to being in key with the track. So I could show really another way of using clip pitch to make a bass line. So effectively, if you imagine I recorded in all these samples, I've ended up with these pink tracks, which I've just added a bit of Lev's favorite EQ, the API 560 to.
Good choice.
Yeah.
Boom.
So, yeah, exactly, boom. So I'll just bring them up on their own. So this is the kick drum that comes off the analog machine. You see that pitch change that's happening there, Ben? That's just done in Luna. So what I love about this is it's
cool.
one of my favorite features is I've got a kick drum that's roughly the note B, and then I can drop it to an A and then an F sharp. So it's in tune with the track, and I've created that sort of, it's not a trap beat, and I'm not a trap producer, but it's that type of element of tuned kick bass line. And you could probably do this with shape stacks of sound in there too, because I've got the machine that I show the audio editing capability to do that.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Just retune all of your samples. So same with the snares. So with the snare that I brought in, I've actually added, I think, a -1 semitones for the second hit. So it's, you know, 2 and 4, but they change slightly so that it's not just a static sample. Just giving it more variation for our ears, you know.
Yeah. Oh, really? I mean, it makes it, rather than just a rhythmic element, it's got a little harmonic and melodic thing to it too.
Yeah, and then effectively did the same, chopping up the hi-hat parts that came in really quick. So this literally took about 2 minutes to chop up some drums and repitch the kick drums and create this little drum beat. And then bringing it into this bus, put the Neve on there, trimmed it down quite a bit, and then finished off with the Otto Biscuit for some absolute insanity. It's so gnarly.
Tom, man, you're crazy. Dude, that sounds so cool. Like, can you just pull up is that a preset in the auto?
Do you know what? I'm going to admit something here, which I probably shouldn't admit, but I don't use presets that much. I use them for instruments, but for effects, I always start from scratch because I want to know the tool.
Mhm.
But we have so many amazing presets at UA.
Yeah.
You should definitely check them all out. And
This is one of those plugins that always intimidates me personally. Of like, there's so many cool things that you can do with it, and it's kind of got its own quirky interface. This is one of the ones that I have only ever really dove into the presets on.
Yeah, it's a crazy plugin. Drive control, and then you've got the unprocessed and the processed naked and dressed.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, which is effectively it's like us right now. Top half dressed, bottom half.
Oh yeah,
you know.
You've put my settings in here.
This is Ben's legs mix right now on wet dry, right? And then there's a little filtering going on, and then effectively it's 8 bits, and you've got from memory. This is when it's off, it's the bit turned off, and when it's red, it's flipped the phase of the bit of the 8-bit signal, so it gives you like an inversion in the sampling waveform.
Oh, cool.
But I put a little delay on it, basically 16th note delay, and that just creates this absolutely insane squelch. Put all that together with the samples that I took from the original track, which sounded completely smooth and really lovely, and now it's absolutely not, Looping, there we go. Just to top it all off, I've added a pulsy sound from Shape, just using one of the patches, just a preset built in, which was the cassette tape pad. But one of my usual little tricks with something like that to give it motion is to do the same type of thing I was doing yesterday and put tremolo or some kind of panner on it. So the pad itself is just a real simple chord progression that comes in here. But I've messed it up with the bass squee again. And it's properly crazy. But then now that it's all messy, I sort of try and contain the mess a little bit by using, in this case, I used a AE plugin, the tremolo, chopping that up. I love when you hit stop, then the auto goes even crazier. So at the end of a section, it just sort of goes a bit insane. And then there's a Moog just doing a bass thing in there.
Hell yeah.
So shall I play the whole thing, then we can stop?
Yeah.
I'll give you the Moog, actually. So
yeah. Come on. Don't just say you have a Moog in there and then not show us what you did.
And I said Moog.
Well done.
He's learning over the week, I'm
being schooled.
I'm not going to give you props for saying it correctly.
No, exactly. Yeah. Just give me. Really simple, but just adding a bit of menacing low end when and a buzz when it kicks in. So that's the whole thing. Pretty quick demo, but ultimately it's insane. But what I love is Luna allows you to just take something that was a really clean source audio and absolutely change everything about it. The pitch of it, the timing, the varispeed alone is amazing, creatively amazing.
Dude, that was super cool, and I think you've 100% inspired the plugin that I'm going to be using the most this weekend, which is going to be that Auto Biscuit.
Oh yeah, gotta check that one out now.
Right?
I love that one. It's so gnarly.
Lev, do you have any tips based on what Tom was showing us here that we didn't get to?
No, I think it's great. The only thing I can offer is super minor. Tom, if you go to the inserts on the mixer, you can command click on an insert to disable and enable it. So it's a really quick way to just
of course
do what you were doing. But great demo. Yeah, instead of that, yeah, great demo though, man. That was a lot of fun.
Oh, thank you. That's actually really useful. I think I must have missed that somehow. That's going to
Nah,
save me
yeah,
a lot of time.
we just added that like a couple of days before the launch. So.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, because I
Okay.
know I tried that over the months of testing and just assumed it wasn't there. Amazing. That's great.
Yeah, man. Great demonstration for sure.
Yeah, that
Thanks
was
so much. Right.
super cool to see how it how quickly and easily it is to chop things up, kind of have audio and MIDI, everything kind of all working together. And yeah, as you guys could tell, I'm a massive varispeed fan as well.
I also love that Tom's video is just like this little spinning thing. It almost makes it feel like he's like an artificial intelligence generated clinician here, just like helping us learn.
Right?
And Tom Waterman is the code name for this crazy AI. So
Shh. Lev, we're not supposed to talk about future products like that, man.
that's right. What are you talking about, Ben?
That was great. Awesome. Well, guys, this was a really fun office hours. We had some ups, we had some downs, but ultimately we did have lots of really cool, helpful information for people out there watching. And most importantly, I hope you guys are just feeling inspired by some of the stuff that we showed you here. So you've got plenty of fuel to go into the weekend and start creating music inside of Luna. So yeah, we'll be back. We will be back here at 2 p.m. this afternoon for a little Luna happy hour, office hour, and then Fab is going to be over on Pure Mix in just under an hour and a half, streaming a live full mix. So plenty of awesome Luna content coming at you, and then of course we're going to be back here all next week as well. So look forward to seeing those events getting scheduled, and yeah, we'll talk to you guys later. Awesome, thanks guys.
See you
Thanks,
guys.
everybody.